So guys, it is time for us to hop into week number 3 right here in the Trick or Treat PUBG Mobile NA event. Of course, over the previous 2 weeks, we've seen these teams bring in some very satisfying and yet surprising performances across our 3 days for the day. Of course, today is going to be no different as we are once again going to be hopping into our 3 lovely matches. And of course, looking at the beautiful lineup that we've got coming through with our teams, we are seeing quite a few teams returning from the previous 2 weeks, looking to have yet another shot at potentially making it through into those finals. I mean, one team that stands out for me looking back at what we had just last week is, of course, the players coming through there from GR Esports, right? Last week, they finished in 4th place. This time around, they've made it back again, and now they're going to grind once more to potentially lock in one of those top 3 slots. So I think it's going to be a very exciting day, just jam-packed with PUBG Mobile action.
Absolutely. I mean, especially when you consider that today is the last semi-finals. Next weekend, when we come back once again for that Saturday and Sunday action, that is going to be the grand finals where we award all the prizes, all the bragging rights to the best teams that came through with the best performances. So today is the day you can either make it or break it if you want to get through into those final spots. So they need to bring that action today.
Oh, yes. And of course, speaking about the action, we're going to be taking a quick look at the teams that we have participating today, right? So we've got Both Esports, we've got Execute, we've got Blinded by Win. Of course, we've got Skills of Mind, we've got Zexify, we've got 4 Potentia, Dream Esports, Nuclear Power, Team Aces, as I mentioned before, also then GR Esports. We've got Angels of Death, Team V, showcase pitching up once again. Excited to see what they're going to bring. Of course, we've got Noobs Galaxy, we've got XQs, Bad Boys, the Panthers, as well as Golden Eagles in a Road to Death, Nucleotide Vendetta, and of course, Execution. So I think it's going to be quite an interesting lineup, right? Of course, few of the names that I've mentioned, as I said before, we've seen in those previous weeks. So today's going to be that opportunity for them to prove their worth, show us that they've got either the trick or the treat to make it through into those finals.
Absolutely, and why wouldn't you? When there's a little bit of an extra ka-ching right at the end of it. Teams will be playing for a lovely share of this prize pool, with an MVP getting the extra award of those $200 as we go from $1,000 all the way down to $200 from 1st to 7th, as 1st to 8th rather. I knew it was going to catch me, but it's going to be a very good opportunity for the teams just to line their pockets, get some bragging rights, and to just showcase some fantastic PUBG Mobile action.
Yeah, and that of course then only means that we are getting ever closer to kicking it off with our very first match of the day. We are going to be running through our usual cycle, heading over into a little bit of Erangel, followed up by Miramar, and then we close off the day with some insane jungle action coming through over on Sanhok. So excited to see what our teams are going to be bringing through. But I mean, especially with Erangel up next, I think this is where the kind of excitement starts, right? Because we know Erangel is kind of the combination of a little bit of that Sanhok, a little bit of that Miramar action as well, but it's also the map that is the most familiar, right? The map that has been in PUBG for the longest. So I really want to see what the teams are going to be doing out here, how they're going to be utilizing all that knowledge, all those techniques to potentially secure themselves that winner chicken dinner.
It also just sets a standard for your day of play, right? I mean, if you're jumping onto a bad day with a Wrangle, it's the bread and butter of PUBG Mobile. Like you said, it's a bit of that Miramar action, it's a bit of that Sanhok action, just both of them put in and combined. So a Wrangle can really help you to set just your standard for the day. And as we know, only 3 maps that these teams actually have an opportunity to put up their best points. We saw some teams last week just absolutely bagging out a fantastic match on a Wrangle, but they're not following up with that consistency on Miramar and Sanhok. So it's just gonna be about how much they can really, actually achieve in 3 maps worth of gameplay and make sure that they don't fall behind the rest of the competition.
Well, as we know, right, the bar last week has been set on 64 points acquired in one day out of only 3 matches, right? That, of course, was done by none other than the team from MP Somot. So the expectation has been set. Curious to see who's going to be able to meet that bar come this week. But, of course, it is that flight path starting over in Savoni, heading straight down into the Novo Crate. So a very centralized flight path coming through here. Curious to see, though, where that first initial zone is going to be going.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going fairly close to center at this point in time. So hopefully we'll be, seeing a little bit of that complementary flight path. We did see a little bit of craziness, at least towards the ending phases of last week, and especially towards Miramar. That was actually absolutely ridiculous. But now the question is if we're going to just get a little bit of, you know, some complacency here from teams, an opportunity for them to go to their favorite spots and to start a wrangle off on a good foot.
Yeah, I've got this weird feeling that we could maybe have a northwestern zone to start us off with. I mean, I'm not going to complain if it doesn't go there, but that's just the, you know, I don't know. I'm getting this weird feeling that the zone could be moving up in that direction. But of course, the team's already starting to break off, heading in their respective directions. We can see the players, ooh, almost right on the money with that prediction, though. I mean, it's close. It's a little bit more west than it is northwest, but either which way, still being inclusive of quite a bit of the terrain within that region. And the teams now have the opportunity to get themselves situated and positioned accordingly.
Absolutely. So having that opportunity just to work a little bit with that flight path in tandem with the zone should allow some of the teams especially to take hold of, you know, a little bit of that hospital action, maybe even Gatka, and moving in, we've already got some teams there towards the northern side of Georgia Pool as well. So they'll be shortly, but shortly moving on into the center point of that zone. I mean, we already have 4 Potentia very close to center, so they'll be able to set themselves up beautifully. And I mean, there's a handful of other teams that are following suit, trying to get those early rotations done and dusted, you know, setting themselves up for that next phase, DK.
Yeah, and of course, speaking about setup, right? Skills of Mind already, as you can see, up north here. T-Rex becoming extinct, getting taken out, getting sent on their merry way, ready to wait for that lovely match over on Murmur. But again, though, I'm loving the fact that teams are getting right down to business, right? Not expending too much time. Instead, looking to bring in as much aggression once they spot the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, jump on into a little bit of action. We saw a little bit of that early, you know, hot drop action into the first Erangel last week, and that went into a whole different story there for Extreme Slayers, picking up a ridiculous amount of points in that first Erangel, really kind of setting the bar for the day, but that is a tough act to follow. So now for the rest of these teams, I mean, we see a little bit of action here towards Military Island already with the Panthers taking a knock, so ooh, this one could turn around here. Maybe Excuse can capitalize on this one, at least get that confirmation onto the first one, maybe moving on before the rest of the Panthers team and picking up some great points as a foundation for the rest of this map.
Well, there's no excuse not to, right?
You did it. You did it. We've been here for like 5 minutes and you did it.
I just couldn't help myself, but I mean, it's definitely going to be putting the Panthers on a back foot. I mean, why not, right? And of course, now speaking about back foot, Dope now going to be looking to maybe get a little bit of that back foot action swinging right here, as they are going to be trying to push up, bringing in the aggression towards the bad boys. I'm loving this coming through from Trip.
No, absolutely. Really just applying the pressure. So in this scenario, this is fantastic for Bope, even if it's just playing time, trying to just, you know, waste a little bit of time here, VB, before the rest of the team can move on in for that cavalry, for that final assault on this position. He's doing so good at just being an absolute distraction right now. None of the teams, none of the players really want to move out of their situation because they have a lack of information and now they have a lack of HP.
Oh! Wow, 2 for 2. I mean, Trip really taking us on quite the experience here, stepping up, picking up that first elimination, that first confirmation is Amrit right on down. Now it all turns to what Paras and Sherry are going to be looking to bring on through here. Up comes the next confirmation, loving where this is going. And now it is going to be Bope also coming under a little bit of that pressure.
Oh, just the rotation that's come on through Bope now with a little bit of recovery that needs to be done. But again, they're not the ones in the hot seat. They've already taken 2. Now they're just looking for a little bit more. Paras is going to be going down. So Shari is going to be the last remaining member that is just going to have to stick to their vehicle and get out of the situation as quickly as they possibly can.
Oh, yeah, Sherry now going to be making that mad dash. But really, do you see a little bit of contention coming through up on that hillside? So I'm feeling a little bit of worry here for Sherry, right? Not the easiest kind of stroll to take at this point in time. And of course, the team that we see accompanying them up on that northern edge is none other than Angels of Death, right? So a very fitting name, and that could potentially spell the end for Gary.
If they keep to their namesake, of course. The bad boys, unfortunately, in this situation, didn't keep to their namesake. So Shari will have to ride, will just carry on the flag here of the bad boys. Hopefully be able to pick up some of those fantastic placement points. But that's at least for now where the story is going to end for them. We'll follow up with them hopefully a little bit later on. But in the meanwhile, it's about those rotations. Rotations from the military base island, rotations from the mainland into that eastern portion of the zone. Looking a little bit stacked for me. A little bit worried there for some of the positions we can see. I mean, looking at Ace, they're in a very interesting opportunity right now because they can set themselves up to get some fantastic eliminations if they choose to stay on that edge of the zone.
Yeah, there's a great opportunity coming through for that. So, I mean, the pressure definitely being on now for Team Aces, looking to see if they can capitalize on that positioning. But if we look just a little bit further inwards, right, just west of that position, of course, then we have the players there from Team V also making a bit of a push. We can see Anonymous in between that Potato Hill and Pachinki, so also good territory to get yourself positioned in.
Absolutely, there's massive opportunity there for them as well. I mean, within center zone, pretty comfortable. Hopefully we'll be seeing them making use of that a little bit later on. But GR Esports, I mean, a name that we've been seeing, I'd say, more consistently than some of the rest that we've seen today. And now, as you've mentioned, they came through in third place in the last week. Now they're back once again to see if they can better in that standing, you know, at the very least just picking up some points or maybe even prepping for those final spots. So this could be interesting. I mean, I'm very curious to see what GR Esports is also going to bring in if they do make it into the finals, which I think they might have qualified because I think it's the top 4 teams per week, as far as I know. Don't quote me on that, please. But if they do make it in with the consistency that they've been showing, and with if you can take a look at it with all the practice they've been getting in the semi-finals, they might actually have a very good storyline moving into that grand final for a win.
Yeah, I mean, they've had ample opportunity to try and build up that consistent momentum. And curious to see whether or not that momentum is going to come in here today once again. But I got to like it, though. GR, they are going to be pushing further and further on towards that western side, looking for a little bit of a setup to go for. Now, as we jump over to the Golden Angels, taking a little bit of a slanted look at that approach, is going to be Beowulf now out in the open. The spray's coming through at Snap. Just snaps their scope on through, looking to drive in a little bit of the damage, but unfortunately, you know, Beowulf not going to be allowing that to be the situation.
Nah, just rotate on out. Really, there's no need to take that engagement at this time, especially with these abstract angles that we've been given. Very nice, I like it, very cinematic. But again, if you don't have a need to take that engagement right now, especially when you're on a rotational path, still trying to get to your optimal position, there's really just no point in it for you. You're not going to be winning anything. As Zozo, well, we'll be winning a little bit of an elimination there onto Reham. So turnaround now needs to be here for V if they want to take as many players as they possibly can. But it's just too quick. GR's already gotten the confirmation.
Yeah, I gotta say, Black showing off a little bit here with the buggy skills, right? Taking us on quite the adventure. But speaking about adventure, the place there from Road to Death, still all the way down on that Sosnovka military island, all the way down to that southeastern side. So there is going to be quite the treacherous journey that they now need to take to get themselves also then secured up into the zone. And we already saw a few of those knocks now starting to come through in the feed as well.
Oh, if we take a look at this one, this is going to be interesting because we've already had so many of those early eliminations, and now all of these eliminations on the way with those rotations. It's really good to see these teams making use of that containment execute, being one of them blinded by Win. Oh, just trying to hold on to the numbers here, but it is a tough war of attrition here between them and Execute. Now it's turning down to those final numbers, those final players to try and clutch it out.
Oh, definitely going to be looking for some form, shape of a clutch to come through, but up comes Execute. Oh, there we go. Nice bit of spray coming through from Nemesis and Jason as they close the door right there on Blinded by Win. And now, good run, right? Already 5 eliminations to their name. Currently leading the back and taking aim, or rather, trying to get their teammates back into the fight.
That would be massive. Again, if they can not only, you know, be able to actually win it out here with those 5 eliminations, but now get all their numbers back, get themselves into a better position. Again, all of this is in zone, and I don't really see a lot of teams really moving into that position. We do have 4 potential coming through from that Rozak position, but they're not immediately gunning towards this position because they obviously have the likes of another team busy blocking their current pathing, and they might be taking a little bit of engagement there. So They should have the time here to recover. We see all of the members up on their feet, and now they should be able to move into zone. Interesting that we do have Noobs Galaxy there towards Everest, so that might be interesting for them. I don't know if Execute might actually be running into some action here later on with the rotation.
Could potentially be, right? There is that chance for something crazy to come through, but as you said, Everest is going to be slightly contested. As we can see now, it's going to be Diamond trying to send it on out, trying to hopefully maybe reach up into Maori. But I mean, Gerardo and the rest of the squad here, loving the kind of utility they have of the terrain up at the top. Things looking pretty exciting, but let's see, is Ronnie and the rest of the team now going to be able to get that push in on Angels of Death?
That's going to be the question here. And again, like how do you actually manage this? Because the longer that you take, you know, just trying to go for this engagement, the more consumables you're going to be using, the more time you're going to be giving for the surrounding teams to potentially, you know, pick a little bit of part of your numbers here. So we can see Angel of Death allowing a little bit of that space. They're not quite yet going to be, you know, really committing to that. They might actually even be committing to a rotation straight. I mean, all of the vehicles, yeah, off of Everest we go. So that's basically going to be giving Noobs Galaxy full control of Everest, and they should be allowed some fantastic line of sight onto the teams rotating in and around this area.
Yeah, I mean, if you got the real estate, might as well use it, right? Make the most of what you have to work with. But I think the fact rather that Angels of Death are choosing to disengage, right? Not going to be expending too much time trying to push up on towards Noob Galaxy. Instead, turning their focus more towards that western approach. And I think that could actually be paying them quite a bit of dividends, right? Because as we can see, there's not a lot of opposition currently held towards the western side of zone.
No, it's bare. It's minimum. No one is going towards the beast. No one is going towards the coastal line. It's pretty much open for the taking at this point in time, and that's because of that flight path that we had moving on in from that northwestern side to that southeastern point, all the way towards the military islands. So it makes sense, right? But no one's really capitalizing. Most of the teams are focusing to the center of the zone to allow them the least pathing to the shortest distance to that next phase, because as we know, Wrangle can be a little bit crazy with those shifts. I do think that I might have seen Execute just off the corner of my eye actually moving up into Everest. Here we are. Yeah, absolutely. They are actually taking on Noob Galaxy now.
Oh, yeah. Noob Galaxy could have their hands full here as Juancho not going to be hanging on back, instead trying to reach across with the utilities. I mean, good, healthy show of aggression going through here from Execute, but all they got to do now is execute that plan, right? Keep the pressure up, push them, and that could potentially result in a very, very nice amount of eliminations for them to continue the plays here. Already, they are sitting on 5.
Look, it would be fantastic if they can continue that momentum, but already Nemesis is down. The rest of the team is now trying to scramble to hold on and make sure that Noobs Galaxy is not actually going to be pushing with that knock, but instead they're trying to give themselves the space to recover, and so far they're doing okay, at least until those nades start to connect.
Yeah, they're definitely doing okay as the nade goes in, and that is going to be Ronnie hit with a lovely one right in the helmet. I mean, now it's open to the rest of the players here from Execute to just apply even more pressure. But it's curious to see that they're not really adopting that knock and rush approach. I mean, I understand it's such a difficult position to play it in, but up comes Jiancho, trying to find it, gets the knock. It is going to be 2 down, potentially 3 now. So you can see the rush is on Nemesis following suit, but look at this. It is going to be Ulf now just clutching it out, rushing over the ridge and securing those eliminations instead then for Noobs Galaxy.
Look, clutching it out is an absolute sugarcoat, right? Alf was not only the only member there to cut off that line of offense that Execute were bringing in, but they not only got that flanking position, they got the second, they got the third, they made sure Execute was down and out. Final nail in the coffin. So absolutely, I hope their teammates are absolutely screaming in their ears saying, thank you for that massive play. Now though, Panthers not looking too hot. I didn't want to say it, but I said it anyway. Unfortunately, down to only 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially looking at what the players here from Golden Eagles are going to be doing, just sending out the nades, picking up yet another player. But Golden Eagles having the golden opportunity, right? We got GR Esports set up just ahead of them, but still GR are situated on the edge of that zone. So a little bit of a power play could be exchanged between GR and the Golden Eagles.
there is an opportunity. I mean, they both have that cover. They're both here towards the edge of the zone, over towards the southwestern portion. So, I mean, they're pretty much left to their own devices at this point in time, and maybe they can take this a little bit further. In the meantime, it's Excuse now holding on the line here, waiting for those rotations to move on in, and potentially an opportunity for them to capitalize. But all of this is happening outside the zone, and Prince on a sliver of HP, but will they get away with it?
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to get away with it, but I also just realized we've got Excuse, Execute, and Execution.
They do,
right.
that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, must be. So they're going to be testing us to see whether or not we can keep up with all the very similar looking and sounding names. But it is going to be Excuse, though, coming through with a full-on send, just rushing into road to death, trying to find a bit of an opening. Up comes the nade, and it is Chronix right on the money with that one.
Dirty little double there, but this is going to be a massive opportunity now for Excuse to absolutely send it towards the road of death and ensure that they're going to be taking that highway straight on through. Golden now with the top line, trying to hold that line of defense, but we've already got a member here looking for the flanking position and the nades, DK.
Well, I mean, this is absolutely phenomenal. Road to death now. Oh! Getting double whammy there, as we can see Chronix locking in yet another absolutely devastating blow. But it all now rides solely on Jason, the only contender left just towards the western position here. Now, Excuse are going to be moving in, looking to clear house as they find a little bit of that hit marker damage, but not a full-on send. Instead, trying to do their due diligence.
Look, this has to be, I mean, after that double nade, I already would have been shaking my boots if I was Jason. Now that you've seen all three of your members not only get knocked up, but confirmed out, this is the trigger to get out of here. Take the vehicle, get yourself out of this position, because it's not going to bode well for you if you stay in the vicinity. But these teams are definitely cooking with fire tonight, DK, bringing in that action and taking hit after hit after hit.
Yeah, quite a few hits indeed coming through there. We'll return. There we go, hopping straight back into the action, not even skipping a beat. Now, the Golden Eagles going to be waiting steadily to see if they can maybe find some form of an approach. I mean, GG just going to be holding steady, doing a little bit of a scout around before deciding to potentially rotate in the direction of the zone. But speaking of the zone, it has moved all the way over towards that eastern edge, so it's going to be a lot of pressure coming through on the west.
I mean, you gotta love those Erangel shifts, right? Especially towards the later phases. Just when you're getting comfortable in your buildings, in your compounds, your hard cover, boom, all of a sudden we're going straight to an open field. Now, all of the teams scrambling into that zone. We can see Team Aces just watching a few of the teams like Golden Eagles making that rotation on in and suddenly realizing, well, there's not a lot of cover for us to work around here. I mean, again, you're snaking it in the grasses.
Well, it's one of those rare situations on Erangel where you potentially have to snake it to make it. But still, looking at what we've got here, right? The players now from Dream Esports have to try and find their approach back into the zone. But Team Aces, they've got that gatekeep set up. So Dream Esports going to be having to work really, really hard to potentially maybe find a safe passage in. We can see on the map that there is an option just further up north. But Dream Esports focusing all their attention now right down onto Team Aces.
And they're focused on information gathering at this point in time. How is Team Aces situated? You know, what are the numbers that they're going to be looking out for if they do try and make that dash? Will they be able to make that dash? Is there a way that they can get around? Like you said, we've got that information that there's an opportunity up north. They don't. They need to get that scouting party out. They need to get that information. We even got Shari in backline, as you can see from Bad Boys, still, you know, flying the flag high for Bad Boys. So the potential there for placements, but they've got a long road ahead of them. And look at this, DK. Oh my, I can't even believe they're going for this.
Yeah, well, big ups to them. Dream Esports are going to be wasting any time as they now opt for a full-on showing of aggression. And we can see GoTo up on the roof. It is going to be up to Yusuf trying to hold up at least that ground floor. But Anzo actually taking a little bit of a disengage, moving to slightly further away. But up comes Bope as well. And this is going to be putting even more pressure now on Dream Esports. They are going to be trying to do everything that they can manage to pull out of the bag here. Of course, those utilities are going to be sent back and forth. Even more pressure coming through as Bope continues to move in from behind. But instead, it is Dream hitting themselves with a self-nade. And that is not the way you want to go into these engagements. Aces now having an absolutely golden opportunity here. 2 players remaining for Dream Esports. Up comes Bope, also looking to crash into this compound. And you couldn't have asked for a more exciting position to be in.
I mean, this is the danger of playing an edge of zone position. You've got so many teams that are looking for those third-party opportunities. And so far, Team Aces have been so good at holding their ground, but Bope just the flanking position with the absolute advantage in terms of numbers, and well, the surprise factor is going to mean they're at least going to be picking up some of those eliminations, but it is still a war of attrition. Who will be getting themselves out of this situation first?
Such a difficult position to play here is, but look at this, right? Aces going to be sending out a few nades here. Anzo going to try and hold up a slightly aggressive frontline defensive here. Trip now trying to find a more opportune approach to take, right? They want to try and potentially get their teammate back into the fight, so they've got those extra few numbers to try and make use of. But Aces, they're not going to let any of these opportunities slide. Now trying to clear out that way, trying to see if they could potentially spot out Trip. But also, they still need to prioritize getting themselves back into that next zone.
Aces will be spending a little bit of extra time there just to get that confirmation, because then that's another team that they can take out of the opportunity, take out of the competition line. We can see Angels of Death now doing the same thing, trying to recover their numbers, trying to get them set back up. Anzo going to be coming through here from Team Aces, and bam! Ooh. There's the confirmation. Bope Esports, unfortunately, massive opportunity for them, and it was quite a confident play, but doesn't pan out the way that they were expecting.
Yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful play nonetheless. And now we are down to our final 10 teams. GR Esports trying to improve on their efforts from last week. Now, still surviving quite well. 2 players left, 3 eliminations. Not the worst position to be in, but still quite a long way to go. Securing themselves over on towards this western territory. As we can see, though, up on the map, it is going to be the players there from Skills of Mind now, starting to take locking in a little bit of that carnage. And of course, it is going to be none other than the Angels of Death that are going to be falling right in front of them. But oh, Skills of Mind gets sent on their merry, merry way. Now, Nucleotide Vendetta going to be trying to secure at least the northern territory for themselves.
Oh, they're going to be trying, but the absolute bombarded from Full Potentia might be a deterrent here. They can still be moving up. They're still looking for those opportunities, still trying to find the angles here to get themselves back into the action, but it is going to be an uphill battle, quite literally coming through from those trenches, trying to find those angles in the smokes. Well, they're not really helping, are they?
Yeah, they're not helping all that much, but I gotta say, I love where the zone has moved into, right here in towards Headshot Hills. A little bit of that ruins action also then coming on through. But now, Nucleotide Vendetta trying to at least clear a bit of a pathway to get themselves closer to that zone. But for Potentia, not going to be allowing any of that, as we can see the altercation now just lightening up, or rather, tightening up. As we also then have Nucleotide facing off against XQs right in that zone, battling for possession. But it does open up quite a beautiful opportunity now towards Nucleotide Vendetta moving in from that northern approach.
Yeah, they did it again. There's Nucleotide, and there's also Nuclear Power. They're doing it on purpose, I'm telling you. There was a little bit of a plan moving on into this one, but I'm loving the position from Nuclear Power. They moved on into that center zone position as quickly as possible, and they've been relatively uncontested up until now. Up until XQs moved on in, but Angels of Death, ooh, they could be giving some haircuts that weren't warranted here, DK.
Yeah, you know what? That is just the way it goes, right? Oh, but goodbye. Angels of Death getting sent on back as Marioso rains on down with absolute carnage. Beautiful reach on that nade coming in. But now, look here, Nuclear Power, right? They still have a very decent setup coming through, at least over towards the western side of the zone, as we now have the players here from Nucleotide trying to get themselves situated, moving on forward. But Nuclear Power, they were kind of set up in advance. Now it is going to be Jin99 who is going to be falling. Only a 3-piece coming through for Nuclear Power. But as we know, Nuclear Power being what it is, you don't need all too much of it. Instead, as we look over on to Excuse, there's going to be Chronix now just absolutely ripping it up, already sitting on 5 eliminations. And now pushing it up to 6, putting the team on a collective 8.
It's massive. Noobs Galaxy also running around with those 12 eliminations, absolutely flooding the scoreboards at this point in time. But Excuse, so healthy. I mean, look at the numbers that they're moving on in. There's only really Nucleotide that can really contend, just pure player-to-player number base. But Excuse are definitely keeping their eyes on a swivel here, holding such a beautiful position within zone as well. It's only really Team Aces, or at least the solo from Team Aces, that could be a possible deterrent.
Yeah, it could definitely be, but now it's all going to come down to what Excuse are going to be doing with their possession of the zone, right? They've got the numbers already set up here, and now a little bit of pressure getting sent in the direction of Anzo. So Anzo, I think in a decent setup, having some form of tranquility towards that western side. Up north is going to be where a lot of pressure is, but Kai is not even going to be spending too much of their effort towards that northern territories. Instead, they want to find Anzo. They want to lock in Team Aces and bring the total team count down to 3.
Ooh, Anzo is in a bit of spot of trouble, but thankfully there's surrounding teams that will be making sure that that rotation is not going to happen. These teams don't want to, give up on any opportunity to take those eliminations. So now, for the time being, Anzo is safe. However, we still have a few other teams to consider here. Excuse is not alone in these final zones.
That is quite the hefty spray going through. Now, Chronix having to try and bring in that Mad Dash already up to 7 eliminations, doing an absolutely phenomenal job, but now runs right into Squall here. Down they go. That is 10 eliminations up for Excuse on an absolute rampage. Anzo, one of the only players, in fact, the only player, yes, standing between Excuse and that winner chicken dinner right here over on Iraggle. A little bit of damage right there. The rock is in the way. Up comes the push. Will Anzo secure the dub? Or is it going to be Excuse to secure it all the way through? Gets the hit, but down Anzo goes. Excuse picking up the winner chicken dinner with Chronix, walking away with 8 eliminations as an individual player.
That in no shortage of words, I'm going to say that was disgusting. That was absolutely disgusting. Chronix, how dare you? How absolutely do you dare to take out 3 teams while absolutely running and spraying? Disgusting, sir, but absolutely beautiful. Please do it again. That was impressive, to say the least. I mean, Chronix just making it seem like they weren't phased whatsoever.
It just seemed like they had so much more to give, right? I mean, locking in 1800 damage, converting 12 eliminations from that. Absolutely glorious run coming through here from Excuse. I mean, this is what we wanted to see, right? Teams stepping up and just going absolutely crazy. But now the big question is going to come. Are they going to be able to maintain that momentum throughout the remaining 2 matches, right? Because don't get me wrong, right? That was an amazing chicken dinner. But they have to now be able to replicate those efforts moving forward. So, we got to be keeping everything crossed, right? I'll be sitting like this, hoping to see Excuse maybe bring in another phenomenal performance. But aside from that, right, we have to commend another team, right? Nucleotide, Vendetta also bring in quite a substantial performance, right? They walked away in this match with 9 eliminations over in 3rd place. Again, a very strong performance. Also then, Team Aces, yes, they made it up into 2nd. We did see good old Anzo just hiding out in those bushes. Unfortunately, Anzo wasn't able to pick up any eliminations, but Team Aces at least managing 4 eliminations for this game.
Hey, when we talk about those solos flying the banner high for their teams, trying to play for those placement points, Anzo, they did exactly what they needed to do, and then some, managing a 2nd place finish off of a incredibly tight and terrifying zone, if I'm going to say that, an absolutely terrifying final zone, and managing to stay alive into that 2nd place finish. It's huge. It's huge for the team, and as you said, elimination's not really counting towards that too crazy, but they are going to be, at least putting down a very solid foundation moving into the next match.
It is points are points, right? At the end of the day, that's what it is, and that's what you need. But first up, we are going to be taking a look at our MVP, and no surprise to see it being Chronix. Absolutely insane performance. As we know, the team collectively ended up on 1800 damage. 896 of that is as a result of the efforts that Chronix brought in with those 8 eliminations and 2 assists. So glorious, exceptional performance coming through here from Chronix.
Yeah, like I said, it was disgusting, but it was fantastic at the same time. Chronix, honestly, it looked a little bit awkward running through the smoke and just literally having players pop in left, right, and center, but still continuing on, finding another team. It just didn't stop there for Chronix, and they had really no other choice but to just continue and running and spraying it all down. So fantastic work, and those 8 eliminations again, it's massive. As you said though, now they need to continue that. So for Excuse, I mean, we saw what happened last week when we had a team absolutely just exploding with some beautiful points in the first wrangle, then moving into the second maps. They didn't quite follow through, so they didn't get that position that we were expecting them to get at the end of the day. Now this is an opportunity for Excuse to break that trend and really move on into the next map, just with some sort of consistency to just continue adding on to their points.
Yeah, and of course now, speaking about adding on to their points, right, we are going to be looking at our damage leaders being Noobs Galaxy, who took that 5th place finish with 12 eliminations as well. So both teams that secure themselves those double-digit figures, also causing an absolute truckload of damage, as we can see right there. But Nucleotide Vendetta finished up in 3rd place, 9 eliminations to their name, and resulting in nearly 1,400 damage. So a very heavy hitting performance coming into this very first game.
Absolutely, and I mean, in terms of the conversion rates, we love to see it. News Galaxy picked up some fantastic eliminations, brought in some great numbers into the final zones, but didn't quite have the position that they could leverage into a win, and Excuse was just clean and clinical. So I'd love to see a little bit more from them moving into the second map, but yeah, we've had some very surprising teams, and the fact is that they've already made those statements on the first map, right? I mean, we had Bob Esports jumping into an absolutely chaotic first elimination, first engagement that we saw, and they brought in some really interesting opportunities. As we take a look at those elims to damage numbers, again, the conversion rates are very interesting. We do have some crazy damages towards the ending points that didn't quite translate, but you know, it happens, especially towards those rotations.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really fault any of that, but I mean, it's still a heavy showing of aggression going through. I mean, you can even see Team Aces still walking away with 1,221 damage, right? So that speaks to the level of aggression that these teams were bringing in. I mean, definitely not letting any opportunities pass them by. And I think this is going to be resulting in quite an exciting match once we make it over into Sanok eventually. But as we know, first up, we have to take a bit of a pit stop a little bit closer to that desert as well. And I want to see how the aggression, the sheer aggression that we saw over on Erangel, then translates into those performances in Miramar. But, you know, aggression also results in points.
Yes, it does, and for Excuse, it translates into 27 points, being that pole position right now, and that target to beat for the remaining teams. I mean, Nucleotide Vendetta moving up in with those 19 points, Noobs Galaxy with the 18, Team Aces with the 16. So our top 4 teams looking very good with the double digits, but there's still an opportunity for the rest of the teams, obviously, to double down, to get those closing gaps, moving into Miramar and Sanok, as you mentioned. And at least Sanok is the last game, so we move into a little bit more of a, I guess, an equal footing and an equal opportunity here for Miramar before we go to the chaos that is Sanok.
Yeah, we honestly can't wait to see what carnage lies ahead for us. Whether it's going to be a trick or a treat, we don't know, but we'll find out soon enough. But definitely an absolutely phenomenal start to our very first game. But as we know, right, match number 1, done and dusted. The points are secured as we can see them up on the board. But now the question comes is, what do you think is going to happen over in Miramar, right? How can we translate all of this into that lovely desert action?
I'm very curious to see what Noobs Galaxy is going to be doing on Miramar. As we know, they picked up the exact same amount of eliminations with Excuse. They just, in that last final zone, it was chaos. It came down to the final positioning. If they can get an earlier rotation in, maybe there's something to say here for Noobs Galaxy taking away that winner with the chicken dinner. But we've also had the likes of Nucleotide Vendetta. We've had the likes of Team Aces bringing in an absolutely beautiful performances alongside our poll winners right now, which is Excuse. So Miramar is going to be an interesting one for me. It's going to come down to the rotations for me, but also which team is going to continue with that foundation, with that consistency, and bringing it into the rest of the maps today.
Well, all we can do is wait to see how all of that is going to play out. So while we wait for our match to get underway, we are, of course, going to be hopping into a very quick break. So be sure to stay tuned. I'll see you guys right back in a short few moments. What's up, guys? Welcome back. We're getting ready for match number 2. Of course, as we know by now, we are going to be heading straight over into Murmur, over into the desert to see what the teams are going to be doing once presented with a little bit of more of a ranged opportunity, right? And that is, of course, what is so great about those lovely Murmur dunes. But we're not going to be having to wait all too long. But what I'm curious to see is how the teams are going to be rolling that momentum forward, right? We did see a strong performance, an absolutely insane performance rather, actually coming in from Excuse. But Nucleotide Vendetta and Noobs Galaxy, they were pretty close, right? So maybe this could be the opportunity for the teams then sitting over in that second, third, and potentially fourth place to try and close the gap, contest for that pole position, or it could also be that opportunity then for Excuse to double down on the efforts and maybe pick up yet another winner chicken dinner. We've not seen that yet.
Yeah, no, I mean, to see some consistency moving on into this absolutely chaotic group of teams, weekend after weekend after weekend, moving on in, bringing us action after action, it would be fantastic to see some of that, structural consistency moving in from map to map to map. Again, we consider the facts that they only have 3 maps to build up their score lines, to build up their opportunities to qualify for the finals. That is a lot of pressure to work on, especially since there's no opportunity for consistency. It's not like you know exactly who you're going to be playing. You can anti-strat them if you wanted to or something. You are moving in blind into this competition, and now, well, you need to just absolutely craft a winning pole position from it.
I mean, I think that's also what makes it so exciting, as the teams have an opportunity on each of our maps, right, to try and kind of piece together rather a bit of a strategy. But yeah, it could potentially maybe feel a little bit like backwards to an extent, right? Maybe start with the maps in a little bit of a different jumble, but either which way it does, however, still turn out into quite a bit of excitement out on that battlefield. And I mean, jumping from Murmur over to Sadok is going to be a little bit of a shock to the system, but you know what, vamos, let's go out there, let's see what the teams are going to be bringing in as they get ready for that lovely flight path, for that first initial zone. Are we expecting any maybe crazy shifts, maybe like a heavy north, heavy south, or maybe over to east or west?
Honestly, based on last week, I would say yes. I would say there's an absolutely beautiful opportunity to get a surprising zone. I'm not gonna go for the usual Chumacera, toward that southwestern portion. I would be very excited with a bit of a northeastern shift of Murmur. See a little bit more of that Terra Bronca, maybe a little bit of Al Azhar final action. I think, Los Leones, that's always absolutely crazy. Just a little bit of that really compounded Murmur action. That could bring in a very interesting final conclusion.
Well, speaking about the final conclusion, right, at least we know now where our flight path is. It's going to be starting all the way up in Torre Ahumada, heading right down to Minas del Sur, up in towards that prison island. So I think this is going to be quite an interesting one, right? Also, a very centralized flight path. I mean, it's not leaning to either extreme directions, right? It's cutting nicely through this map. So it's going to be allowing teams quite a few great opportunities to get themselves situated, to get themselves positioned in anticipation of these coming few phases.
I mean, it's very similar to what we saw on Wrangle, just that, that horizontal axis a little bit flipped, but very opportunistic here for the teams really to get themselves situated. Again, it's going to come down to that zone, how much traveling they're going to be doing in this first phase. If we're going to be seeing a few more teams. Ooh. But there's some odds. We're very close with our predictions today. What's happening here? Why? Since when does PUBG Mobile listen to us?
It's trick or treat. It's trick or treat, Ez. I mean, come on, right? We got to have a treat every now and again. Most of the time we get tricked. But today, we're getting treated with some really spot-on predictions here. I got to say, though, I am not unhappy with the zone, right? I mean, this is going to be quite an exciting one already for Potentia, situated smack dab center zone, as we can see there. And then, of course, they are sharing that position with none other than Excuse, that are going to be looking to uphold that momentum. So Al Azhar going to be a good starting point. It's going to be allowing them a little bit more time to kind of figure out how they want to play this match.
Yeah, so that crucial opportunity here to get yourself situated to be relatively uncontested, because I don't believe that Full Potential is going to immediately be making any sort of rotation into Al Azhar, because they should have seen those rotations moving into that position. They're rather going to opt out for their own level and route of looting. But for some of the other teams like Excuse, I mean, to have that time to set yourselves up, just to get yourself well situated before you start taking on these crazy engagements, that could be huge for a team like Excuse, who we know brought in that clinical execution there over towards a wrangle.
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was. Yeah, it's a little bit of cat and mouse, right? Skills of mind wasted. About to get that vehicle wasted, which is maybe not the most opportune approach to be taking. Instead, they are going to be ducking out of it. But you know what? Like, yeah, why is the damage on the vehicle, the health bar on this vehicle, what it is? Either which way, right? Speaking about damage, health. We are seeing a heavily congested southwestern position, right? Up in towards Los Leones, Chumacera, potentially even towards that Picado position. So I'm curious to see how these teams are going to be looking to dissolve the contention we have in the southwestern area.
I mean, even there towards the north, we start to see a little bit of that contention, but it is definitely not anything in comparison, in contrast to what is happening there towards the southwestern portion. So a lot of the teams dropping a little bit later with that flight path, looking for a better position, and well, they are, you know, they got tricked, unfortunately, here, with an unfortunate rotation that they'll have to make, and some very difficult choices. As we can see already, V is going to be one of the first teams we're experiencing those tricks, taking a few hits from Blinded by Win with the fantastic line of sight that Ander has. V, they have a very difficult rotation. I don't see a way that Black is going to get out of this unless Blinded by Win, you know, start to rotate back, start to crawl back into that zone.
Well, they can always try a little bit of variety, right? Seeing that they are V, we've already used Vary, so let's go for variety, right? We're going to hope to see a little different approach to come through from this. I mean, Black pretty much pinned down in that current positioning there. And I don't know what their teammate Bugger is going to be able to do to bring in any potential assistance. I don't really see a pathway out of this. But it's looking great for Blinded by Win as they are going to be holding strong. Also curious to see what's going to be happening up in towards that Picado position, as we do have the players there from the Bad Boys going toe-to-toe with none other than the players coming through there from GR Esports. So quite a few exciting names, but also then we've got the Panthers getting into some action just over to the southwest of where we currently are.
I mean, they've already avoided the vehicle donuts. They've already avoided, you know, sudden death by impact. So hopefully Panthers will be able... Oh, that was a disgusting shot. Will be able to hold the line here. And again, what is happening with these players? I mean, we've got Chronix that's just running from team to team, spraying everyone down. We've got Ander just with a boop, tap on the head, finishing off their opponents. It's looking good here, DK. These teams are definitely fired up today.
Yeah, especially those boop taps. I mean, those are the best, right? We want to see them. Yeah, especially when you hear that clink come through when you know that you've got that headshot secured. But Panthers now having to try piece back together another approach to take. I mean, they could potentially rotate down along that southern side of the zone, trying to sneak up into Impala, because that is pretty vacant, right? That could potentially be a really good decision to make, and it does seem like they are heading in that general direction. But, you know, all be revealed as they reach their final destination.
Again, the beauty of this is that we know what's happening. We know where all these teams are situated. They don't necessarily know that if they continue south, if they take the usual pathing, they might be falling into the hands of Skills of Mind, who are running that 2-2 split. Maybe they'll be able to avoid it, but we'll wait and see how they're going to be taking that rotation in. In the meantime, Blinded by Win, just picking up the pieces, making sure that those team sweeps are in, and V, unfortunately, will have to wait till Sandhawk to showcase a little bit of their action, a little bit of their skill sets. While Blinded by Win will be picking up some beautiful early eliminations. We always like those early eliminations because it sets a foundation for the team. Now they just need to add on to those foundation points, and then bam, they've got a really, really good, consistent Miramar to add to their tally.
Yeah, and this is already a great improvement on the performance we saw coming through on that first week, right? We know that they stepped in, tried to make a bit of a run for it, but unfortunately things didn't work out exactly the way that they would have hoped. But now they are really bringing in such an improved approach to how things went before. But now, speaking about that, of course, Bad Boys, also one of our former teams that we've had in the running here. It's going to be Shari now doing a little bit of a dance up in the casino, going up against the players here from GR Esports. Yeah, this could get pretty hot and spicy pretty quick fast. Of course, now we also then have Pope moving in from that western side.
Oh, it's like Pope can just smell out the third-party opportunities here. But right now, Bad Boys already finding the one. There's the second. This is huge. Now, if they can take hold of this action, if they can get the rest of GR, there's an opportunity now for them to close the gap.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, they're not looking to close the gap. They're looking to slam that door absolutely shut. It is now down to gentlemen and gentlemen, right? It's, well, both the gentlemen left here in GR Esports are going to be making their way through the compounds, but I'm loving this, how the Bad Boys are moving in. It's going to be Amrit right there on the front line. We've got Paris also then trying to close the gap. Gentlemen getting ready for a little bit of dance here with Amrit, who's going to be the one to lock it in. Down they go. The first gentleman falls. Now, gentleman steps up to rescue gentleman, and Zozo, so low on health, tries to stand up against the Bad Boys, but they say no. Instead, they move on forward. Paris and Batra going to be rushing on forward, trying to close it up, trying to get that squad wipe. Up comes the jump. Oh, so close, but it's not going to stop them there.
Within an inch, gentlemen get out of that situation. Both the gentlemen, in fact. But now Paras is just going to continue, just laying on the pressure, not allowing them time to get those heels moving. And now Zone is coming on in to add to the action.
Oh, this is what we want to have, right? That blue zone, unfortunately, not going to be doing all too much damage just yet. It is only that second phase. It stops right in front of them. But now Paris going to be trying to find that approach. Look at gentlemen. Oh, they've got a nade ready. Sends out, finds nothing. But it is going to be Paris to fall now. It's all down to Batra. Batra coming in with a little bit of the tratra. And down they go as the gentleman casually sends them packing.
That is huge for them to be able to actually recover that situation. Honestly, I didn't see an opportunity for them. It just came down to those 1v1s, and they managed to isolate them beautifully, picking up exactly what they needed there from Bad Boys. And now they'll be able to continue on, hopefully, to pick up even more points. In the meantime, Execute out here in the blue, still making their way in while blinded by Wind, just on the edge, very close to zone. Moving on in from that edge of Los Leones, and relatively uncontested until we get to the edge of zone. As we know, a lot of teams moving from that southwestern portion likely going to meet each other as soon as they cross that threshold of the zone.
Yeah, there's a lot of tension starting to build here. I mean, the teams don't know it just yet, but they are going to discover that for themselves momentarily. I mean, the players here from Blinded to Win, or Blinded by Win rather, have a good rotational pathway in towards this next phase. If they move now, they could save themselves quite a bit of that hassle. But speaking about a hassle, right, Skills of Mind, it's going to be a really difficult play to get that vehicle secured, to get that rotation in, and, well, maybe get Yi back up into the zones. We can see T-Rex and Wasted, they've already been able to find it, but Wasted also so far away from the rest of the squad.
In terms of the splits that we've seen, it's been pretty interesting. We know, Skills of Mind, they ran with that 2-2 split. Now, well, down to only 3 members, and yeah, very split up apart is Yi, so hopefully they'll be able to close that gap. I think they might have run into a few of the other teams that took that, southern rotation that we were focusing on earlier. So it happens. It's a little bit of the risk when you start to split the team up, but sometimes it does work out with the informational play here. In terms of that center zone, DK, we've got a handful of teams that are well situated, and that's pretty much where the safety ends for the rest of them.
Yep, that is 100% correct. And of course, smacking up center zone, we've got the players there from the Golden Eagles. They do have a little bit of opposition just north of them. That, of course, being none other than Poor Potential, as we can see right on the screen here. And we've got the players there from Excuse, just a little bit further north, trying to find their own pathway to maybe secure some ground. But I think this is a good play, especially looking at Excuse and Full Potential, right? Because it's pretty much uncontested. All the other teams are, to the majority of the of the positioning available, situated onto that southern edge of the zone.
And moving in from that southern edge, it's going to be an interesting one, I can tell you that much. You can already see the teams crossing that threshold and now suddenly realizing, wow, I am followed by like 6 other teams. This is going to be great. Moving on in center zone, it's just not going to stop anytime soon. For such a large and vast map, it does definitely seem like the teams are just managing to find one another so beautifully, more than any other Miramar I've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about finding, right, the players here from Dream Esports also finding a really good setup towards the southern edge of Center Zone, right? As we can see, of course, they just west of Impala. but the elevation that they've got here is going to be allowing them quite a bit of a vantage point on the mass majority of those teams that are yet to rotate up from those southern territories. So maybe if they utilize the space adequately, that could also then result in quite a few eliminations heading in their directions. But now, Noobs Galaxy being one of these teams down south, battling their way through, just managing to get ahead of the blue, but they've already lost 2 of their players.
It's a difficult opportunity here. We want to see more from Noobs Galaxy, but that doesn't look like they're going to be giving up anytime soon, DK. They still have that fighting spirit. They're still looking for those eliminations, still looking for the points wherever they can really find them. I mean, taking on the likes of Blinded by Win is no small feat. So the fact that they're still looking active, they're still, you know, really applying as much pressure as they possibly can, even just as a duo, speaks volumes for the momentum that they're hopefully going to be carrying through into that final zone where things might be a little bit more equal, where they might have a few more of those opportunities. But again, that zone shift, once again, back in the vehicles, take the rotations. This is going to be mad as we move in from that southern portion.
Yeah, and as we also then know, there's going to be a little bit of that pressure, especially on the players here from Noob Galaxy, right? They are one of those contenders that could maybe make a bit of a run for that pole position. So the pressure is definitely there, and they need to find those more opportune approaches to secure each and every single point that they can find along the way. I mean, they're only 1 point behind the players there from Nucleotide Vendetta. I mean, so, you know, there's quite a bit of a fight that could potentially break out. But as we look just a slight smidge towards that western side, is of course the players here then from Team Aces. They're down to 3. I mean, they do have the players there from Blinded by Wind situated right next to them, but both these teams still need to prioritize that rotational positioning in towards the zone.
Like we said, unfortunately, these teams moving in from that southwestern portion, it's just been rotations. It's all they've really had time to do. Aces might be looking for a few more eliminations along the way in their rotations and just trying to find that connection. My goodness, at least the Rock is there to help them. But again, Yusuf going to be doubling down on this. They want this. It might be providing that tunnel vision though, DK, because this is coming from the back end.
Ooh.
Oh.
Wow. Wow, that is tough. That is absolutely tough. But now Team Aces still having to pick up the pieces here and continue to push. I mean, they're nowhere near that zone just yet. And unfortunately, Yusuf has been taken on down. Anzo. And I believe that is more 18, PX 18, right? I don't really know how to pronounce that. Maybe Pixie, I don't know. Whatever. One of those ways. If you know, please tell me. But either which way. Yeah, sure. Let's go with. I'm just going to go with PX, right?
Just
yeah,
PX,
Pixie.
Yep.
Having to cover quite a bit of ground all the way from Los Leones. I'm not quite sure whether or not Pixie is going to be succeeding in pulling off a successful rotation. But who knows, right? They might surprise us. Speaking about surprise, it's going to be, well, Execute now looking to lock down at least the western side. They are going to get rushed, as we can see the plays here from Bope now coming in full force. They seem eager. They seem hungry. They want to get as many points as they can.
Look, Jason has gone from, you know, a pressure situation on Erangel to a pressure situation here on Murmur up against both Esports this time around. Thankfully, the recovery seems to be there. The time is there, so Execute back up to 3 in an opportunity to turn this one around, but they're up against the full force here from both Esports. Moving on in for the elimination. 2 down once again. Jason, once again, the only member up and alive, trying to make something happen.
Well, we've seen some magic happen here up on the top floor, right? But is it going to be on the cards? Oh, don't know. Both, they seem to have a different outcome plan here for Jason as they're getting ready for a little bit of that push. Pretty sure that Juancho and, of course, Nemesis conveying quite a bit of information. That is going to be Jason now vaulting out that window. The hit comes in. It's Trip getting shot. Oh! But Jason gets picked up, and that is Bope securing elimination number 5.
Oh, that one could have turned around if we had another team in the vicinity. For Jason to be able to take out the 2 members of Bope, immediate recovery for them, but there's no one in the vicinity to follow up, unfortunately. And Jason, I mean, a 1v4 situation, what are you supposed to do? Blinded by Win, now trying to hold their line against Noobs Galaxy, who have been absolute pain in their sides.
Yeah, I can't really blame them though, as we know Noobs Galaxy also trying to acquire as many points as they can. Currently sitting on only one elimination, right? So any opportunity they have, they need to try and capitalize, but instead it is going to be Diamonds to get taken on down. It now turns to their final contender. I believe that is Ulf just up ahead, trying to maybe see if they could get something to happen on Blinded by Win. That is going to be the numbers down to 1. Right, up comes Noobs Galaxy. Ulf pushing up. 1 nade could close the door right here on Blinded by Win. Oh, but instead they move away, and we also then move away further down south. As we can see, the Panthers now fighting their way on forward, and that is Ulf taken down. Noobs Galaxy stopping right then and there. Now the Panthers taking aim over on towards the players here from GR Esports and potentially even Nucleotide Vendetta.
Taking through that rotation from the southeastern portion, we were talking about it, working with that coastal line, working with that southern rotation will allow you to at least get into the zone from a different angle, take it from a different side, and hopefully give you a little bit more space moving into that zone. Unfortunately, it seems like great minds think alike, and now both of these teams are going to have to fight their way into zone. Panthers applying that pressure, looking to close that gap as well. They do not want to give Nucleotide any time to recover, and now it's a car chase.
Oh, yes, I love it. I love it. Pub GTA coming through right here, as we can see Menam popping up a quick little bit of a hit there. I mean, putting some damage into the vehicle. Does also succeed in getting that knock, but it is going to be Pain picked up by Kai instead. Oh, that is not what we want to have happen right here. But look at this now. But the Panthers looking to kind of assert themselves onto the zone, right? They do take that 2-2 split. We can see 2 players moving towards that more centered up position. The other 2 are going to be holding onto the edge of zone. This could be allowing them quite a bit of an opportunity. And now, as we can see, right, Skills of Mind, they are down to 1 player. That is, of course, none other than just left out on that very edge, trying to push up from the coastline.
Moving on in, trying to close the gap. That's all that these teams can really do. And for a lot of them, unfortunately, it has only been the story of rotations. I mean, quite surprising on Miramar. No, it isn't. It is absolutely the story of the game, especially with the way that the zone has been moving. Dream Esports, time and time again, they find themselves in this situation now up against GR to close the gap, to get themselves in zone, who are currently the gatekeepers. GR holding the line like the unfortunate guardians that everyone needs to face, and Pope just a nade away from potentially falling to the same fate.
Yeah, speaking about potentially, for Potentia, trying to line up those angles. Oh, is that one going to be on the money? We don't see anything coming in the feet just yet, but it is, however, the players there from Skills of Mind getting packed up and shipped out. Now, up comes a beautiful spray here from Emma right onto Jinx, stopping them right in their tracks. We can see, of course, the players there from the Golden Eagles position not too far away. But Dream Esports and GR Esports now caught in a very, very challenging position here. Both the gentlemen doubling down for a little bit of an exchange here.
A little bit of an exchange indeed. Like we said, GR Esports being the guardians of the gate. Yeah, but it's definitely a very difficult gate to guard at this point in time, especially with the amount of nades that just keep getting flung at them. At least for now, Dream Esports going down will give them some space to work with from at least the southwestern portion, but over towards the eastern side, Panthers still fighting tooth and nail to try to take control. They still have to get a place in zone, and right now, who's up ahead of them? Okay, that is going to be a difficult opportunity here for fighting against Excuse to get into zone.
Yeah, I mean, Chronix just narrowly escaping the inevitable there, just managing to get out of that vehicle. Oh, but now the Panthers, as well as the players here from For Potentia, putting all their focus right onto Excuse. You can see Kai and James getting picked up. Lone Wolf dealing an absolutely crazy nade to them, but now Catalina going to be holding up here for Zexify. Oh, but look at this, Chronix managing to piece it back together. Now, the final, one of the 2 final contenders potentially for Excuse. Lone Wolf is going to be right there on the very edge. The damage is in, but it is Chronix getting sent on their merry way alongside the rest of Excuse. And this is not what we wanted to see, but still though, a 9th place finish with 3 eliminations, not the worst place.
Isn't that kind of what we want to see? We want to see some action on the overall scoreboard. We want to see the teams keeping us on the edge of our seats to see who's going to take pole position, especially after this absolutely jam-packed Miramar. There's an opportunity here to take pole position, and GR Esports are looking to try and make it happen. But Golden, step on in. But oh, it's going to be up to the gentlemen here to make something happen to see if they can move forward, DK.
Yeah, the gentleman really needing to find that approach, but up comes Nate now from the Panthers, finds the angle. And, well, the gentlemen, they have to hang up their hats as it is the end of the road on Miramar. Now, Nucleotide Vendetta still holding on to a two-piece, as we can see, rather three-piece just up ahead. The Panthers still in full swing, already up onto 12 eliminations. But it's still going to be a very hairy fight coming through between Nucleotide Vendetta and, of course, then the players there from potentially Nuclear Powers. There's not a lot of points currently separating these two teams.
Not a lot at all. There's an opportunity, like we said, to close that gap. Maybe even a completely different team jumping into that contention for the top spots, jumping into that opportunity to qualify for the finals. Nuclear Power, we've seen what they've been able to do on a wrangle, but what can they make happen in this situation? Again, if you take a look at the zone, it is Panthers. They're holding that prime position. They're holding a very good proportion of that control, and now someone needs to take it away from them.
Yeah, I can bet you that the Panthers are going to be fighting tooth and nail to secure themselves that winner chicken dinner. I mean, they've already got 13 eliminations to their name, and it's them up against a 2v2v3. So it looks like the potential is there. It's all going to come down how they manage these zones, and with that, it is going to be the players then there from Zaxify getting sent on out. Oh, up comes Nucleotide Vendetta. Mena and the rest of the crew now having to rush on forward, but it's down to Mena and Nate as they try and apply the necessary pressure. Up comes Nate. Beautiful hit. It is Marioso on down. Ooh, what is going to happen here? Avi just quickly jumping up on the box, trying to keep themselves well away from that potential spray down. No! Nate getting picked up. Oh, Mena steps on up and clutches it out.
RV was looking like the member to beat, so close to actually making it happen. But at the end of the day, we have to give it up to the Panthers for getting, oh, I love this spot, for getting 20 eliminations alongside that winner chicken dinner. That is a 35 points a game. So if ever there was an opportunity to close the gap, if ever there was a way for you to take that pole position, I think this might have been it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty impressive run to come through. 2,600 damage, nearly 2,700 damage. And what's also crazy to look at is, like, Mena, right, picked up half the eliminations of the squad, right, hitting those double-digit figures. Absolutely insane performance coming through here from the Panthers, but a well-deserved winner chicken dinner. As we know, they only secured 3 points in the previous match, so this could potentially be that opportunity for them to get themselves well-established, much closer to the top of the overall standings, at least, well, for the semi-finals, you know. But yeah, you got to speak about the spice. It was definitely there by the bucket loads. I mean, Nucleotide Vendetta also keeping it strong, securing themselves at least that second place finish. We then also saw the players there from Nuclear Power, I believe it was, rocking up with 3 eliminations as well. So a very contentious performance across the board.
Look, it's good to see some semblance of consistency from the teams, at least finding their way into those top 2, top 3, top 5 positions. But it comes down to, especially in a small contested game like today, only 3 maps to make your mark, only 3 maps to get yourself onto the, the top position into qualifying spots for the grand final. It is these ridiculous bombardment of points that teams can pick up in a single match with 20 eliminations that are going to make the difference at the end of the day. I mean, how do you actually fight against that? Now, the only opportunity you have to try and match that is on Sandhoff, the last map that you would have placed your bets on.
I mean, what better map to do it on, right? A map that lends itself to sheer aggression. But, I mean, the Panthers not being in need of any aggression as they just stepped up. And, of course, it is going to be Mosso here coming through from the side of Team Panthers. Well, yeah, Menam or Mosso, whoever you want to call them, right? Whichever name you want to call them, it is, of course, none other than themselves picking up our MVP here. 10 eliminations and 841 damage dealt.
Ooh, I've already said disgusting, so I'll just say it's delicious. I'm running with the
Ooh, yes.
key words here for the adjectives today, but it is beautiful to see these teams really moving on in and putting up these crazy individual performances. I mean, we had Chronics in the first map, we've had Mena or Mosso now in the second map, moving on in, making sure that their team is going to end up in the top, and again, no surprise, we see Panthers in our top 4 teams list.
I mean, you gotta love it though, right? You have to absolutely love it. But look at the damage though. I mean, yes, sure, Panthers 2600 damage. That is quite exceptional to bring in. But if we look at the rest, right? Blinded by Wind 1300, Golden Eagles 1300, Bope coming in with 1200. So some heavy hitting blows coming through. Unfortunately, they weren't able to convert as many eliminations from all that damage, with the Panthers definitely going over and above, securing themselves yet again. I mean, come on, 20 eliminations. That's a 35-pointer right then and there.
Oh, it's just good. It is just so good. And again, we mentioned it. To be able to close the gap, we weren't looking at crazy points. I mean, we were looking at the top 4, sitting on the double digits with like a 16-pointer being that, you know, that entryway, that opportunity for you to get into the likes of the top 4 placements. Now, Panthers are going to be adding 35 points to their tally. I mean, we didn't even have a team really reaching that yet. Excuse, unfortunately, didn't have an opportunity to close up. Execute didn't have an opportunity to close it up and double down on their points. So I think Panthers might have just taken the pole position. Thankfully, I don't have to do the math. Someone else can do that. Again, DK, we know math is not my forte. But this is going to be a massive opportunity for Panthers. If they can just keep some semblance of consistency, boom, they've taken pole position for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, Panthers really running away with the performance on that one. We do, however, see the players there from Excuse, right? A little bit further down, 774 damage, but only 1 elimination coming in at the end of this match. So, yeah, they might be in a little bit of trouble come with the overall rankings, but you know, we gotta wait a little while longer until we get to that point. But again, the team's really showing up with a lot of aggression. Not only the top 4, but the top 5 as well. The players there from GR Esports, again with that consistent performance. And we know last week they came so close to qualifying. Will they have the opportunity to do that this week?
Question. I would love to see them in the finals just purely based on the storyline, right? Seeing them week after week, how they've been developing, potentially how they've been learning from their competitors, moving into the grand finals. Potentially, we might just see a completely different GR Esports than what we've seen so far. So I really am hoping that they're going to be able to make it, because that would be very, very interesting to see. However, can understand these eliminations and these damage points, but it is going to come down to those overall rankings that are going to be making the mark here for these teams, that are going to be setting the foundation for what we need to be expecting over towards Sandhawk, which teams need to be bringing in that action, which teams really need to double down on, you know, the eliminations, on the placement points, to make sure that they have as much as they possibly can to take to that overall tally. Like we said, Sandhawk is not a map I would ever want to place bets on, because it is so chaotic. As you said, lending it to that aggression, DK. Third-party action all day, every day.
Yeah, but you gotta love it though, right? It's gonna be the opportunity for the teams to let it loose, and we are gonna be letting loose our overall rankings. The Panthers then sitting on 38 total points, 4 points ahead of Nucleotide Vendetta, that have been able to hold on to that second position. Excuse now. Well, as a result, getting moved down into third, with Nuclear Power closing their gap, moving up from 5th into 4th. That then results in Noob Galaxy now having to occupy that 5th place, but they're tied with Bope.
Ooh. Bope and Nucleotide, the only team that stayed in the same position. That is ridiculous. Really helps to add on to the storyline of how absolutely insane that Murmur was. I mean, the teams were just picking up pacing after pacing, really providing some beautiful surprises. And now that surprise just continues. That momentum just continues over towards Sandhawk. When we take that discussion of, okay, well, Panther have a current 4-point lead. It's not a lot, but I mean, considering where they jumped up from, well, like you said, I think they had like 3 points from Erangel. Now moving into pole position, that is huge. But again, we have to understand the context. Will they be able to stay ahead of Nucleotide Vendetta?
We don't know, right? In one match, they jumped up 10 slots. Are they going to be able to maintain that amazing, amazing lead? But I got to give it to Nucleotide Vendetta, right? They've been consistently consistent. Match 1, match 2. holding on to that second position. So it's all going to boil down to what the lovely jungle will have in store for us. And of course, while we wait for the jungle to get populated, we are going to be hopping into a very quick break. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you guys back in a short few moments. Hello, welcome back, guys. We're getting ready for a final match right here in the Trick or Treat PUBG Mobile event. Of course, well, it's the last game, right, for final week of semi-finals. And after this, the next stop is going to be the finals itself. So it's going to be curious to see whether or not the players there from the lovely, lovely Panthers are going to be able to hold on to pole position, or could we maybe have that upset come through from Nucleotide Vendetta? As you said before, Ed, only 4 points currently separating them on the overall leaderboard.
And the thing is with Nucleotide Vendetta, right, when you talk about the consistency, they've been the only team that has been ensuring that they are in a consistent placement. Top 2, top 3, top 4, they are ensuring that they're in that top 5 placement, picking up some really decent eliminations and ensuring those placements. They're the only team that's showcasing, you know, real consistency that is worth that qualification. Now they need to fight up against the Panthers, and the question is, will Panthers be able to continue that momentum? I mean, a 20 elimination game, that is hard to follow up on a map like Sanhok. So I'll have to wait and see what they're going to be bringing to the table.
Yeah, I mean, all they can do is try, right? That is all that's left. The teams can try. And maybe try and upset everything, right? Sure. Just go out, go absolutely crazy, go insane. I mean, it's the last match. I mean, it all comes down to this, right? So, yeah, excited to see what the approach will be, whether or not the Panthers are going to be able to hold on. Maybe we could see a few other upsets, right? We do also then still... Well, we're waiting to see what the players there from GR Esports are going to be bringing in. This map could also be that final opportunity for them to potentially improve their performance that they had just last week. But of course, we don't have much time left before we head over in to see what that lovely Sanhok has in store for us. So, Ez, any predictions as to where you think we could maybe see that zone going?
I don't think I should say anything because I feel like we've both had good luck.
We don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, especially because what I want to say, I know it's not going to come true. You know. You know, let's go something crazy. Let's say a Paradise Resort section. So let's go for that northeastern side once again. I doubt it's going to happen, but if I'm wrong, it might go the other way, which is also fun.
Yeah. I mean, so we got to find some kind of a common ground in and amongst all our. Yeah, you know, there's got to be options. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe something towards Lakawi, maybe Camp Bravo, somewhere in that vicinity. I think could be quite an interesting one to see. And of course, we'll be finding out in a short few seconds exactly where the flight path is in fact going to be taking us. As we know, of course, Sanok flight path, yeah, it doesn't matter all too much. It all boils down to what that zone is going to bring through. And look at that.
Wow.
Magadap sensor flight path.
I mean, we're seeing Lakawi, like, whether it's not the way that you thought we were going to be seeing it. Hey, it's there! Again, actually, now that I think about it, one of the few finishes I haven't seen is, like, towards docks. I have never seen a final zone heading towards docks. I've seen one towards cave, obviously, I was losing my mind. I've seen pretty much everywhere else except Bantai, docks. That southern portion just normally seems to be untouched. It's like the military island on Narangal. It doesn't really happen much. But now, with a perfectly horizontal flight path, the zone is going to be an interesting question.
Yeah, it all lines up, right? It all lines up. Now we got to see, is it going to be? Where will it go? And the answer is... We don't know
right
yet.
Now.
Ooh, okay. Magnab Center. You know, it's like a little bit of a mix of everything.
It's like a hamburger. It was so perfect. I mean, you just got a flight path straight down through center.
Yeah.
Zone right on top. I mean, I have never seen such a perfect combination before. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a Pubg burger. Welcome. Right, on sale now.
I don't think we can afford that burger, DK. Let's be honest. If we were in this situation, I would be in a tree. I would be in the lobby already. We can already see a few numbers having been dropped. Ace has been taking some eliminations there. Road to Death also trying to scramble into the situation against Full Potential.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen quite a bit of contention coming through. Several hot drops coming in, and it is excused now. Oh, coming under pressure up in ruins. Road to Death and Full Potential, if you pointed out. Also up into in a little bit of a standoff, a potential standoff. And they've got the Panthers just south of them. So, I mean, as you want to talk about an opportunity, this is it, right? I mean, all the teams that we want to see lock in points are pretty much in the opportunity to do that right now. And it does seem like Excuse actually managed to deal quite a bit of a blow up in towards that ruins position.
Oh, it's massive. We got Dream down to only one player. I mean, we've been here for a couple of seconds. We didn't even finish making the hamburger joke, and now we've already nearly had 2 teams going down and out back into the lobby. And yet, blinded by Winner looking to send as third. Bad Boys not in a great position right now with that rotation coming on through. But if they can find an opportunity to get some of these eliminations, just that opportunity of a trigger to move on into this situation, potentially they can take this further.
Yeah, they definitely could do exactly that, but they don't want to follow the players there from Team Aces. As we know, Team Aces already sent on their merry way. Now, blinded by Win, Bad Boys in a bit of a standoff here. Where's it going to go, though? It is going to be Minibon, though. That is going to be taken on down, falling to the drink. Oh, this is all we want to have happen here. But look at Amrit. Oh, that's a nice lineup. That's a nice lineup. Is it going to find it? Yes, it does. It's Legend getting picked on up now. It is going to be Amrit having to cover that distance, close the gap, and potentially secure that elimination.
You really can't do much. I mean, you're prone, you just have a nade fall on your head. What are you supposed to do in this scenario? But blinded by Wind still have a tall order ahead of them. Bad Boys,
Ooh.
They've moved on in. It's only one more player left here for blinded by Wind to turn this around.
Yeah, this is Bad Boys, Bad Boys. What you gonna do? Well, they're gonna look to get a squad wipe as they rush in, and, well, they don't look to get it. They do get it. As they said, blinded by Win, right on their merry way down to our final 6 teams we go. We still see quite a bit of contention as we have the players from Road to Death still caught in that little bit of an altercation down where we saw them last, of course, going up against the players there from Full Potential. So curious to see how that is going to unfold, but you got to give it, though, to the players here from the Bad Boys. Glorious, glorious way to play it out. Now, Execute. And, of course, the Angels of Death getting into a little bit of a stand-up up in Trifecta.
Oh, this is an interesting one to work with, right? Because we've got so many teams within the vicinity moving on into the more center positions, closer, a little bit closer towards bootcamp and find none. However, whoever finishes off this engagement gives themselves the spacing here towards the northwestern side, and then they give themselves that time. You can see Road to Death finding for potential, looking for that trigger, turning around and making it happen for potential. Unfortunately, taking a very heavy hit there. But they're still in this, they still have an opportunity to take this further.
Yeah, they do have a little bit of that spread as we can see there, so maybe you can see Lone Wolf maybe make some magic happen right there, but it is going to be a pretty pressurized position to play from. Elsewhere, we also then see the action up in Trifecta, now moving even further as the Angels of Death are starting to crumble, right? It is none other than the players there from Execute moving in, finding those hits, and again, now for Potentia, down to 2, right? It is Reika up on the one side, Lone Wolf on the opposite end, and I mean, you don't really want to have this 1-1 split coming in, going up against a squad that has more players than you.
No, unfortunately, that safety in numbers, you know, memory just has to be absolutely hitting in the side of Full Potential's minds, because in the situation, one of them takes that engagement, there is no opportunity for backup. Like you said, completely split up from one another. There was a little bit of that flanking opportunity, but that's all gone now. Back to Execute here and Angels of Death, who are looking to try and hold the line. Execute down to these 2 members, trying to stay alive as Jason goes down. It's all or nothing, and they find one, but can they convert to the second and third?
Well, it is going to be Maori to get picked up. As we can see, we got Yadi also now that just holding on to that angle. They don't want to step out just yet. Instead, they're going to try and maybe find a bit of an approach. We got Ghost also now looking to just get that res on through, bringing potentially the players here from Angels of Death back up to 3, and that is in fact what happens. Now Execute down to 2. The rush is going to come through. We can see Ghost now pushing in on the building. We got Janko up on the front. It is going to be a very unfortunate play here as 184K gets taken on down, and that is the end of the road. Execute getting deleted.
Look, it was a beautiful opportunity there from 184K. They did what they needed to do. They got that information. They rotated to try and help out their teammate. But again, you're playing that numbers game, and unfortunately, it just was not in their favor. Back up in here to this contention for potential. Still split to a 1-1. And now who looks to join the opportunity? It's Zexify looking to take out both teams now, starting with Road to win, and at least one will be capitalized. So Zavi going to be going down. Now Road to... wow, what am I doing? Road is going to have to return the favor here. Unfortunately, in at a bit of a disadvantage. They don't have information to work with.
Yeah, they have to return to the effort, right? That is definitely what we need to see happen. But Road to Death caught in a very, very tricky position, right? They've got a few players situated on this eastern side, as we can see. Zexify just up ahead, but Bope also going to be moving even closer. So they got to choose which way they want to take this. Jason now going to be holding on, just hovering around. Yes, I mean, it is trick or treat, right, at the end of the day. So very, very fitting to see that come through. But now Zexify down to 2. It is going to be Boo and Bambi. So a little bit of that B&B action that could be boiling on over towards Full Potential.
Lone Wolf, well, is keeping to the namesake in this position now. Up is the solo, down to 10 HP. The continuance comes through from Zexify. And if we were talking about the sandwich, here is the turnaround, at least from Reika. So they will be able to get one hit over towards Road to Death, but will they be able to convert that? And will they be even be able to get close enough for a res? Or it looks like they're just going to have to take that engagement, the disengagement, out of the situation.
Ooh, this is...
We're up to 5 parties at this point in time, DG. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have a better party than a 5 party, right? That is kind of that's the upper echelons of parties. But now it's going to be Bope looking to clear it out. They do get that confirmation up into Lone Wolf. We can see Bambi also just steadily lying in wait. Reika up ahead, Prince up ahead. Out comes the Molly. Is it going to find its place? It gets really close though. But Bambi just huddling up into that corner, doesn't want to get found out just yet. We do see, however, Gentleman is going to get traded up there as the bad boys come swinging on through once more. But now Bope having a little bit of work to do. I'm loving this fact that they are looking to spread themselves out. If only they knew how many solos lied in wait.
If only they knew, they would be absolutely gunning towards these positions just to do the cleanup, to do what Chronix did best in a wrangle and pick up as many eliminations and team wipes as they possibly can. But as we know, they don't have the same information. They don't yet know what lies at stake, what lies ahead of them. And again, it makes sense that all of this action is happening here towards this position because it is the northeastern entry into the zone. So a lot of foot traffic, as we saw with now what the fifth party I think that has joined in this general area since the beginning of Sandhawk. It's crazy. It's absolutely stacked. And look at the center position. It's just going to get even worse. Now that zone shift might make this even more spicy over towards Trifecta. So these teams in the center, they at least have a little bit of extra time to work with.
Yeah, but I'm curious to see what's going to happen on that bootcamp hill, right? We can see the players there from Nucleotide Vendetta holding up to a very well perched position, but they are sharing that with the players coming through then from the side of Nuclear Power. So the contention is definitely there for that controlling angle, but also still a bit of fighting having to come through on this eastern approach. We can see still quite a few of our stragglers trying to piece back some form of an approach to take here. Bope is going to, however, make it quite challenging for them. Also then, Bad Boys now moving up into bootcamp, sneaking in behind Team V.
Ooh, Team V, they have had a very difficult running, both on Erangel and over in towards Miramar, so hopefully there's something that they can turn around here towards Sandhawk. I mean, it is an absolutely crazy map that does lend itself to a little bit of equal footing in terms of eliminations because of those third parties. Maybe they can pick something up, maybe they can turn something around here. And then meanwhile, rotation. It is the name of the game, and what is the focus for me right now is what this team right here is going to be able to do. Because if they can keep their lead, if they can make sure that they stay ahead of Nuclear Vendetta, then they might have just secured their pole position. But of course, we know there's a few other teams, you know, just another 14 other teams that they might need to worry about as well.
Yeah, not only that, but, you know, the Panthers and Nucleotide Vendetta, they are getting scary close, right? They are about to potentially find each other towards that center zone. Meanwhile, Angels of Death going to be trying to make some form of a play happen over onto this Trifecta region, right? They still have the players there from Skills of Mind positioned just behind them, so they could maybe look to set up a bit of a gatekeep position here.
The opportunity is there. Now look what comes through here. Angel of Death. That is going to be a whole different story here. If they can turn this one around, it might be a whole different story to work with. In the meantime, center zone still looking a little bit stacked. Painan starting to get some visitors, starting to get some residents taking hold of those compounds. In the meantime, Skills of Mind here over towards that edge of zone, and relatively uncontested. The only opportunity, the only little bit of a worrisome idea is as soon as they cross that river, they're literally just going to be in for team. Like I said, Angel of Death, one of the first ones that they might need to contend with.
Yeah, and not only that, right, as Skills of Mind push across, they are either going to find Angels of Death on that southern coast, or if they move straight up forward, they're going to be bumping right into the Bad Boys, right? So it's going to be quite a bit of a gamble for the players there from Skills of Mind to make, and I mean, they obviously don't know what we know, and that is going to be Road to Death. Also now, sent out in 15th place, down to 14 we go with 41 players remaining. And I gotta say, the southern edge of zone actually not looking too bad. We got Excuse now holding on to that southern edge as the new shift comes through. It does move up in towards the more northwestern edge, but also then the players there from GR Esports rushing to get a position in zone.
Ooh, this is going to be interesting. Angels of Death keeping their eyes on the horizon. They know there is a lot of danger in and amongst their midst, but of course, now that zone shift, that adds that extra pressure because now all eyes are on them. Rotations have to head in their direction. Teams need to take this position away from them. They've already got two moving on in from the northwestern side, and they've got a whole lot more moving on in from the east. Like we were talking about it earlier, Nuclear Power, one of the teams to bring in that consistency. Can they make something absolutely crazy happen in Sandhawk to take a pole position? We don't know. Panthers have done it. Maybe someone else can do it on Sandhawk.
Yeah, I mean, they're only 17 points away, right? That, of course, granted that the Panthers don't secure any additional points. I mean, well, technically it's up to 19, seeing that the Panthers already been able to secure themselves those 2 additional points. But the pressure is definitely going to be on. Even the players here from the Golden Eagles are going to be looking to wrap around that southern approach. And this could potentially lend them a bit of an opportunity onto the Panthers. Oh, but look up north. Angels of Death. They find the lineups. It is going to be the players there from Skills of Mind now coming under fire. But this could also then be the opportunity for Panthers to assert their position at least towards the southeastern edge.
Again, massive opportunity. As we know, they're fighting to keep hold of their pole position. We've got Nucleotide Vendetta fighting to try and close the gap. Looking at Bad Boys, trying to find those opportunities. Have already found one knock, but can't quite hit the final nail on the head just because of the distance, just because of the smokes really not allowing those opportunities, those line of sights. And of course, we got to worry about the teams in the vicinity looking to do the exact same to them. Bad Boys now. This is going to be an interesting gap for them to close, to try and get closer to center. Look at how much opposition they have in their vicinity.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for any higher stakes to come through here, but, the Bad Boys, they're just going to be chilling on the edge of the cliffs. They're instead not taking a swing over at Nucleotide. Ooh, quite a bit of a range play, especially with the M249. A weapon not specifically designed for those longer range engagements, but, big up to Amrit for pulling that one off, at least, managing to connect a few of those dots up.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely wouldn't. At least you have enough bullets, right? If you miss a couple, it's okay. You still got like a 150 or so. It's okay. It's right. You can make it work. They are still in this, and this is an interesting one for me. Moving on in from that northeastern side, like we said, not the best of luck on Erangel, not the best of luck on Miramar, but over towards Sanhok, they're looking pretty healthy. It is just going to be this engagement up right now with Nucleotide Vendetta. If they can get past this, then we're talking about a storyline for B to bring it back on Sanhok, but the nades, they're already starting, DK.
Yeah, it is going to be Murray also rushing straight on forward, picking up Rema, and down they go. Oh, Nucleotide, they've tasted blood. Now they want more, as they're going to be getting themselves ready to push further and further forward, setting up that gatekeep even more so. And I mean, they've got an absolute plethora of teams to choose from, right? As we can see, we've got Nuclear Power there. We've got the players from the Panthers, as well as then, so many others to go. And now it's going to be Diamond, Rashi, and the rest of the squad there getting quite a devastating hit sent up their direction, and that is not what you want to have happen. Oh, Noobs Galaxy is done. Down to 10 teams we go. It is going to be Jen now from Nuclear Power getting spotted out. Oh, what are they going to do? Do you think they're going to be able to find that positioning back through? I mean, still so contested on this eastern edge.
Absolutely. The Panthers out in the blue, at least being able to find something, but they're down to 1. Delu needs to get those meds on up. They need to get themselves situated within the zone. If Panthers have any opportunity to pick up those placements. In the meanwhile, Angels of Death up to 11 eliminations. Again, we remind you, just as a duo, they've been full for the longest time, but they're making it happen here. We can already see Ghost up to 6 eliminations, now taking a little bit of a drink out here in a little bit of a swim opportunity, and this is difficult now. Ghost, yes, absolutely phenomenal in terms of the eliminations, but now what can they do as a solo? Could they get even as close to the absolute success that they've had as a duo?
I mean, it's going to be tough, right? Angels of Death started off this match with 6 points on the overall leaderboard, right? So whatever they can find would only assist them in climbing that board even further. Currently, they're sitting on about 17 points, right? The 11 eliminations plus the 6th, which awards them around about an 8th position based on the points we had coming into this match. But, yep, that is going to be the end of the road, though, as the Angels of Death meet up with the Angels of Doom, ending their approach for the rest of Sadok. Now, down to the final 6 teams we go. It is going to be Nucleotide perched on high, just looking down on the rest of the teams, looking for the opportunity to go on an absolute rampage.
Oh, the sneak sneaking on up behind. Golden Eagles looking for that golden opportunity. The nades will be sent on out. A little bit of damage there towards Avi, but now their position is known. Now they know exactly what's going to be coming from behind. Nucleotide Vendetta can actually turn their attention. Golden Eagles still trying to take this uphill battle, but ooh, the zone now gives them that opportunity. Now the tables have turned. Nucleotide need to push into Golden Eagles for that zone position.
Oh, this is going to be crazy, though. Nucleotide, as we know, a very proficient team. They could definitely pull this one off. But, I mean, the Golden Eagles, no strangers to that, right? They've come into this match with 10 elimination points to their name already. So they've proven that they can get down to business. They can show that aggression. But there's only 4 teams left and quite a few stragglers now trying to secure themselves some decent positionings. Up comes Avi. Ooh, looking for the opportunity, but look at that. The shots now hitting it up there. I mean, it is going to be GG trying to just stay well ahead of the damage. But Marioso, I'm loving this position.
I absolutely am as well. Moving on down, fighting their way into the action. Bringing in that, wow, that's a crazy amount of damage, my goodness. And now looking to just double on down, get a few more already, applying the pressure here to Excuse, who are down to 2. Kai, ooh, Kai is down as well, Sherry's down as well. Bad Boys out for the count, and Nucleotide Vendetta looking to take back their pole position.
Oh, and up they come rushing straight on forward. It's going to be James holding up that frontline defensive, but Marioso's got the eye set on the target. Comes up, but oh, James managing to survive with almost no health. Up comes the rest of the squad, and it is going to be Nucleotide Vendetta just sweeping the floor. Now, it is the Golden Eagles going toe-to-toe with Nucleotide Vendetta. It seems to be a very challenging position. It is indeed a 3v2. You got Beowulf and GG. The two remaining defenders now for the side here of the Golden Eagles. But Nucleotide having a more than ample opportunity to get themselves reset. And it is going to be Beowulf down, and that is it. Nucleotide reign supreme as they walk away with 13 eliminations to their name. Absolutely glorious performance, and 1,859 damage being dealt.
I love at the end there that the tables are once again turned. I mean, Golden Eagles, you know, early into the game, they were fighting an uphill battle there with Nucleotide Vendetta. And then towards the end, tables immediately turned. They have the high ground, but they had no utilities to work with in that final moment. They had to go for the trade for trades, and they did exactly that. Every single elimination that Nucleotide managed to get, they got the trade immediately. But again, it's a 2v3. You do the math, it works out pretty easily, right? Unfortunately, just not quite in the mix for Golden Eagles, but a very good second place finish and a good amount of points that they should be able to pick up. For Nucleotide, the story is even greater. I mean, they were only 4 points away from taking pole position.
Yeah, I think I think it might be safe to say, right, that Nucleotide Vendetta did what they needed to do. Right. I think it's pretty safe to assume that. I mean, they did finish off with 13 eliminations. They only needed 4 points. And the only team that could pose a potential threat to that rise was, of course, none other than the Panthers. But the Panthers, they got sent out in 5th place, only acquiring 3 eliminations. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to the wire to see what those final points will be. But what an absolutely amazing day it was. I mean, jam-packed with action to the brim. And the teams didn't even stop, right? It just kept on going. Erangel was exciting. Murmur was exciting. Thanok also not letting us down whatsoever.
No, it was an absolutely jam-packed Sandhawk, which we love to see. And again, it's the constant change of story, the constant change of guard, if you want to talk about that as the pole position, because constantly the teams are stepping up and they're showcasing that they have a lot more to showcase. They have a lot more in the tank. They're bringing in that action, and that bodes really well for the grand finals. If they can continue that into the next weekend, we are going to have a jam-packed season, a jam-packed weekend of action that they are going to be showcasing. So yeah, we'll have to wait until next weekend to see what that's going to be like. But first, we have to talk about the player of the match for this one.
Yeah, of course, our MVP being none other than Chills, picking up those 6 eliminations. 653 damage dealt. I mean, that conversion rate is absolutely amazing. Only 53 damage, escaping a potential elimination, you know, maybe making it up into 7. So, you know, you got to give credit where credit is due, and that was a beautiful, beautiful play coming through here from Nucleotide Vendetta. But as we know, right, not only did we have one outstanding performance coming through here from Chills, we need to take a bit of a look and see what the stats look like for our, well, 4 insane teams, right? We do have a beautiful breakdown about to make its way on through as well. But here we have it, our 4 top teams: Nucleotide Vendetta, Angels of Death, Bad Boys, and Execute coming in with some really strong numbers. I mean, Angels of Death also hitting those double digits.
Yeah, no, bringing, they really, well, you know, kept to their namesake. That's the best way I can put it. Bringing in those 11 eliminations with a 1700 damage. So huge, huge, huge opportunity for them, especially with the fact that we consider the numbers they were bringing into the final moments, running with the duo, then to Ghost as a solo. It was a really good showing from them. Ultimately, though, I do have to just give applause to Nucleotide Vendetta because they brought in an absolutely stunning finish on towards Sanhok. And again, I think it was enough. Bad Boys, excuse, also Bad Boys. The story for Bad Boys, when we were talking about it, you know, I mentioned V had a very difficult, you know, first 2 maps. Bad Boys, equally so. They really did not start off well. They constantly had to fight for position. They started off with a hot drop immediately and had to first take a hold of that before they could even think about moving on with the rest of their Sandhog. But this time they overcame that hot drop and they brought forth a really, really good showing here over towards Sandhog. You can even see the damage numbers just looking overall a lot healthier.
Oh yes, I mean it's pretty healthy if we're being honest about it. Especially top heavy, right? You can see our top 5 teams with regards to that damage looking pretty decent there. I mean, Bope also 876 damage being dealt, 5 eliminations being converted from that, and we got Excuse up there as well, right? 1021, that is looking pretty decent. Quite a bit of work that they've put into this match. But as we look a little bit further down, the players there from Execute, 701 damage, but unfortunately only resulting in 1 elimination.
Yeah, there's a few teams. I mean, Team Aces, Golden Eagles, again, massive damage numbers, but not being able to get those final hits, maybe not even having the opportunity really to actually land the final hits. But here it is, Nucleotide Vendetta. They did what they needed most. They actually made their bets happen on towards a map like Sanhok, taking pole position with 62 points, only 2 away from beating the record, or at least tying up with the record. So fantastic showing from them personally, DK. I love to see what they bring forward in the grand finals.
Yeah, well, they did say that's set, right? A little bit of a rank record, I think it would be, with 37 placement points total. So well done to them, though. I mean, doing all of that with 1 chicken dinner under their belt, really good to see these teams keeping it so contentious. And of course, we got to commend the Panthers and Excuse, both teams sitting there on 47 points apiece. I mean, all 3 of our chicken dinner winner teams up in the top 3. That is what we want to have happen. Excuse also just doubling down on the efforts here, so you gotta absolutely love it. And I think this is gonna make it so exciting to see once all our qualified teams then meet up in the finals. I mean, especially today being absolutely exciting. Last week also, no shortage of action coming through there, even the week before that.
It's been surprise after surprise after surprise. These teams have definitely been stepping it up, especially the teams that we get to see more than once. You know, some of these teams, they come through, they make an absolute showing, an absolute splash. Like Nucleotide today, you know, first time we actually get to take a look at them and bam! Pole position. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the finals. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to be bringing forth in the finals, how that's actually going to be able to turn out, because now at least there's a few more maps. You know, it's not just 3 that we get to take a look at. There's a few more opportunities to take forth on those overall rankings, and we will really get to see what these teams are made of.
Yeah, honestly, can't wait to see what they will have in store for us. So already a very exciting first 3 weeks concluded, right? We know now who are our teams that are going to be moving through into those finals. So be sure to join us next weekend as we move into the grand finals to see who's going to be walking away with their share of that amazing prize pool as well. Of course, be crowned as our trick-or-treat champions right here. I mean, what more is there left to say other than we look forward to seeing everyone back again next week as we jump back into even more insane PUBG Mobile action. And while you're at it, be sure to tune in to the PMGC as well. You might see a few, one or two familiar faces in there as well, right? This coming week. I don't want to hint too much as to who I'm talking about, but yeah. So until then, until next weekend, have an absolutely fantastic time, guys. We look forward to seeing you all back again. Stay safe, stay fresh, stay frosty. Until then, bye for now.